One. Hello, this is Geeks Assembled, and have we have uh, we have a proposal for you that you are going to have to you won't be able to refuse it. Um, we are going to review Goodfellas, story of Henry Hill, a New York kid who made it big in a way. Anyway, it's it's got these amazing casts, and with me here is got these amazing casts. So as you go around and opening thoughts, let's start with Connor. Connor, what's your opening thoughts on Goodfellas?
Um, Goodfellas is one of them kind of iconic uh, gangster films that you always hear kind of mentioned, not just in the top gangster films of all time, but in the all time movies. And to be honest, it deserves it. It's an amazing movie. It's one of them kind of long kind of the rise of the gangster stories that Scorsese tells so well as a filmmaker. Um, a bit like Casino and a bit like, in a way, on a smaller scale, Taxi Driver. And I think that this movie, he's had so many. I'm not sure it's his best, but it's definitely, I'd say, within the top four. Um, I think this is Robert De Niro's probably career best performance. Um, Taxi Driver and King of Comedy aside, um, playing Jimmy when he kills everyone or has everyone killed. Sorry about the dog. When he has everyone killed because of the heist, when they took the money and spent it on all these luxurious things, which kind of gave away the fact that they just robbed a bank in an airport. Um, that kind of was when it flipped on its head. That's when he kind of showed um, himself to be this brutal gangster. And I think that someone in this movie who doesn't get near enough kind of praise, actually maybe he does for this particular one, is Joe Pesci. I think Joe Pesci in this movie is absolutely fantastic. He might actually be like maybe the second best part of it. I think I'd rate him a bit higher than Ray Liotta, just for their iconic line, "Do I amuse you?" You know, that sort of exchange in the club. That's just iconic now, and you know, it's a movie, like, it's really long, as every Scorsese movie is, but it's just packed full of iconic moments. And it's a shame that I've only seen it twice. I think I need to go back and watch it a few more times, really. Yeah, I know, shocking, isn't it? I've only seen it twice, being the film fan that I am. Yeah, so it's one that I definitely probably have, maybe on the once a year watch list, I think.
Cool. Tim, what's your opening thoughts about Goodfellas?
Well, I agree with Connor very much. This is a very much a classic movie. Um, I, it's funny, I hadn't watched it in about 20 years, to be honest, and I'd seen it many times way back when, because this came out 30 years ago. But I sat down to watch it, and while you're right, it does have a long running time. The time just flies by. I mean, it's a great film. It really is. It just starts and moves, and you go through these decades, and it's aged very well. Mainly, I guess, because it takes place in the past for the most part. In other words, it doesn't look like, oh, this looks like a '90s movie. No, it looks very much like a modern day film, like you just made it yesterday. It's a great cast, great direction by Scorsese. The movie, I think, I know Lee doesn't like narration when it comes to audio, but it's very necessary in this movie, and it moves right along at a dash. I mean, and it gets the story moving very quickly, and they do a great job. And it's basically just him and his wife talking about the whole movie. I thought it was great that Scorsese's mother plays a small part as Pesci's mom. I recognized her right away. I said it looked like Scorsese in drag, to be fair, but it's a great movie. It really is. It's kind of sad too, because you kind of see towards the end of it that the characters really have bitten off more they can chew with this cocaine thing, like many people did back in the day, and it really derailed their whole thing. And it's really sad that they that he has to rat on them and send them to prison, especially the Paul Sorvino character, because he really is just a magnanimous type of boss. I mean, he's in it. He loves his crew. He loves his family. He doesn't want to do some of these horrible things they do to each other, but they made it impossible for him. So I mean, it's again, I can't really lavish enough praise on this movie. I think it's one of Scorsese's best, also, and it kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just one of his best. Let's leave it at that.
All right, and then let's go to Ethan. What's your opening thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've seen this movie about, what, 5 times now? First time I watched this, I think I was about 10 or 11 or something. But yeah, so that probably explains my warped sense of humor. But anyways, yeah, I love this film. It's to me one of the last true great gangster movies. I mean, we got some afterwards, but this to me is like one of the definitive gangster movies, like one of the greatest. And I love it. This whole story, and as Tim said, it's aged well, and part it is because it is set during the 50s to 1980. And Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest directors ever. Like Connor said, I would put this as one of his top 4 greatest. My 2 favorites are Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but this is on the top 4, and it's brilliantly acted. Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci. I mean, he is iconic. Every time I hear Goodfellas, he's the first one I think of because of that line. What do I amuse you like a clown? I mean, it's got so many lines, and it's inspired, and it's been spoofed so many times. Like, I was talking to Lee about this. One of my memories is, you know what I'm going to mention. Who remembers Animaniacs? And there was characters in Animaniacs called these 3 pigeons called the Goodfellas. And each pigeon is based on Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro. And even the line at the start of the film, as far back as I remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. They even did it in every episode of the pigeons in Animaniacs. Every time it opens up, but they change it. He goes, as far back as I remember, I always wanted an iced donut. And they go up to this big pigeon who's called the what was his name? The Godfeather, who's basically Marlon Brando. This big pigeon who's like, he talks gibberish. He's just like, so it's inspired and been spoofed so many times. And it's so funny that not long after this film came out, Animaniacs, and you've got the Goodfellas. Every line is so iconic, and some amazing moments in this. But it's the character development, and as Connor said, it is the classic rise of a gangster empire, and it's told greatly from when he was a boy, joining the ranks, getting in with these guys, big family, something happens, causing the downfall. You see who they truly are, particularly Robert De Niro. His mask falls off, and you just see just how terrifying he is and ruthless. And it is a sad story because you see, like, they were once so close and stuff. And it gets to the point, they all break apart and stuff or die. But I love this film. It's a great, great movie. And it's one I would watch again and again. It's just a great gangster story. And I love true gangster stories like this one. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Great choice of a movie. Over to you guys.
All right, Lee, what's your favorite, or what's your opening thoughts, please?
Well, the thing I like about this movie, it is based on true events. It's based on true people, uh, real gangsters that really did exist. That they lived and died, lived and they were the mob, died in prison. Yeah, it's as it's been said, the running time. It's a long running time, but it just flies by because you get involved in what's going on. Um, and I'm just looking at the DVD at the back of here, but I never noticed that though. But there's commentary on here by the real Henry Hill. So, so I'm gonna have to listen to the commentary by
Listen to that
the
now.
real gangster. Yeah, he's no longer with us now. He's passed away. Like, but I'm gonna have to listen to that. But yeah, it's iconic. I do like a good gangster movie, and I say Scorsese can do that. Just to perfection. And if you get the right cast, which he has done in this, you can't go wrong with De Niro, Joe Pesci. I mean, this was 1990, right? You've got Goodfellas and you've got Home Alone, the same year for Joe Pesci. How different can you get? What a brilliant actor. He used to say the iconic phrases by Joe Pesci. He was just a nutcase, that character. But I want to get on the wrong side of him. I know Tim mentioned Scorsese's mother was in this, but also Scorsese's father was in this, playing a character called Vinny. When they were in prison, he was there cooking the dinner for Paulie. It's a family affair. That's what usually the mob is. It's a family affair. Paul Sorvino, what a brilliant actor. He's always been a great supporting actor. Whatever he's been in. If Paul Sorvino's in a movie, it's going to be a good movie. And one of those recognisable faces, of course. I like this. It's as it said, it's not dated. It's not dated at all because they say it's set in the past. It's set in the 70s and goes up to about 1987, I think it is. But it's well worth the watch. And if nobody's ever watched it and think, oh, it's a gangster movie, it's Scorsese, it doesn't matter. It's a damn good story. And what you've got to realise is it's true events. People disappeared. People got buried. People got killed. There was heists. People went to prison. And it's all in here. Maybe a bit of, twisting here and a twisting there, but it's all true events. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good to sit down and watch this. Was it Susan and Tim what suggested this the other week? So thank you two for that. So back to you, Susan.
All right. Yeah. And let's go to Craig, please, for your opening thoughts on Goodfellas.
This film, I really like this film. It's a classic gangster film. I love the family dynamics of the movie and the storyline. I probably watched this around the 90s when it came out. For some reason, I've never watched The Godfather. I own The Godfather, but I haven't opened it. But I will probably get round to watching it at some point. But yeah, I think this is a really iconic movie. The pace is good. There's some classic scenes that really enjoy. And my favorite character is probably Joe Pesci. I didn't realize about Scorsese's mum because I quite liked her as a character as well. So it's quite nice to find that out. But yeah, that's my opening thoughts. Is it's up there with one of the best gangster films, and that's my opening thoughts.
Thank you, Craig. Let's see. My opening thoughts. Henry Hill wanted to be he wanted a job with the gangsters. He wanted that he wanted to be in with that group from the time he was a little boy. He admired them. They had savoir faire. And there was a cab stand across the street from his home, and when he was old enough, he got a job driving the cars around, parking Cadillacs and stuff. And that was big time for a kid. And Henry Hill was, Brooklyn was a tough place to be born and raised and stuff. He survived it by integrating with these guys, and they did a lot of things right by family, but they did a lot of wrong things by everybody's standards. They had mistresses that were, kept women, and they had they killed people, and they stole a lot. They stole from the airline. They stole $5.875 million dollars, which now would be like 50 million or 60 million dollars, and that was the biggest heist at the time ever. And I mean, they were they had connections in the Teamsters and in the airports and they would just take things, and that was just the way it was. And to me, that is so interesting. The characters were an amalgamation of other characters, but really the character played by Joe Pesci was a real one. And Tommy DeVito was a real one, and a real guy. And James Conway was also a real one, based on a real guy. And Paul Cicero was a real one. But the rest of the characters were amalgamations, and it was so fun to see this movie again. I love this movie. Alex loves this movie. He's got sort of a he's listened to Henry Hill speak on radio for, what is it, 35 years, since Howie Carr, the Boston DJ, started interviewing him, both in outside of prison and then inside of prison. And then, after he went into the witness protection program, Howie Carr couldn't interview him anymore. So that's that. But anyway, he's such an interesting character, and I'm really glad they made this movie. And Martin Scorsese is an amazing director. He's got a way of making gritty beautiful. I mean, even the ladies, even these guys' wives who were, made up and they had bad skin, he made that look beautiful. So yeah, that's my opening thoughts. And we're going to go back to the same circle. Connor, what's your favorite moments, please?
Like I mentioned, the scene where Jimmy kind of goes into the bar and realizes that everyone's spent the money from the heist at the airport. That's pretty, and that's just such a good acting performance from De Niro, to be honest, because I think for much of the movie he was a very kind of calm and unassuming sort of character. You knew he was a gangster, but you didn't know how brutal he could be. And then that he kind of just at that moment he just thought, kind of fuck it. And then Joe Pesci, he always plays characters that have a few screws loose. Like they can just flip at the click of the fingers. And when he kills the guy, the black guy, I can't remember his name, in the when they're having that little meeting around the table.
Stacks.
Yeah, Stacks.
Samuel L. Jackson.
What's that?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. That's just fucking unbelievable. And actually, I didn't actually know at first when I first saw this movie that Samuel L. Jackson was in it, because I didn't see him credited, because obviously you've got Robert De Niro in there and Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci as the sort of three main guys, and it kind of pushes everyone else's name out into the kind of wilderness. So I actually genuinely didn't know Samuel L. Jackson was in it. And then, I see Joe Pesci break into his apartment and then just shoot him dead. It's just kind of, wow, okay. And obviously, like I said, the Do I Amuse You scene as well is just kind of Joe Pesci. Kind of, you can see him simmering, like under the surface. He's ready to snap. Like he could kill Henry Hill there and then, and he wouldn't give a shit. That's kind of Joe Pesci's forte. He's not so much like that in The Irishman, because I think there's a lot of similarities between The Irishman and Goodfellas. Not just because it's the Ray Liotta aside, it's kind of the same dynamic. But you can always trust Joe Pesci to bring some proper brutal realism to a movie, I think. And it's a shame, to be honest, that he retired, because I think that he's a better actor and he's very well praised, but I think he's a better actor than even sometimes the press give him credit for. Like in Goodfellas, he just kind of steals it in some places, and he's coming up against De Niro, who is arguably one of the greatest actors of all time. So I think all my favourite moments really are surrounding Joe Pesci, to be honest. It's just Joe Pesci makes the movie, really, in summary.
All right. Well, I think that that's high praise for Joe Pesci, and so let's go to Tim next for your favorite moments, please.
I would point out that the direction on this film is amazing. Scorsese has a way of directing scenes, and the way he places music in the scenes is awesome. Specifically, there's that scene where the main guy is having the longest day of his life, where he's got to go pick up his brother, go make dinner, and meanwhile he's all paranoid as hell from the coke he's putting in his head, and so he's driving around and he thinks he's being chased by helicopters, and it's just an amazing scene because as it's almost in real time. But I mean the way Scorsese directs that, it's just an amazing piece of work. I mean that and the music that's placed in it and the way where he puts it. He's one of the first directors I think that did that with music and film, where it becomes part of the sound, and it fits so perfectly. Like another scene is when De Niro's sitting there in the bar and it just zooms in on him and they start to play that Cream song or whatever. And it's just amazing how he works on this. I mean, how the music works to move the plot along with the film and comment on what's going on in the film with no dialogue. So yeah, that to me that's one of my favorite scenes though, is when he's driving around being chased by helicopters, and he's just like freaking out. And it's just I don't know. This is an amazing movie. I forgot how good it was. Like I said, I hadn't watched it in about 20 years, and I sat it down. I was like, because I thought, you think it's in your head, you know it. And I watched it, I was like, God, this is amazing. I haven't seen, it's an amazing film, amazing piece of work.
All right, and Ethan, please, your favorite moment.
Yeah, I have to say, what Connor said, I totally forgot Samuel L. Jackson was in this. So when he came on, and of course you instantly recognized him, and it was really weird because that was a time where I remember a movie called True Romance where he was only in a small part and then he gets blown away. But yeah, it was funny seeing him. But a lot of favorite moments. Again, Joe Pesci steals it. A lot of scenes because he does, as you said, he just has a knack for playing these guys that are ready to blow off and kill you. No matter what type of character it is, it's always similar. It's always the same. But and so obviously, it's the classic night bar scene, where that line, "Do I amuse you? What am I, like a clown or something?" That's brilliant. The whole scene of that is brilliant, and it's a great evolution. How you see him getting more unhinged in a way and more reckless, to the point where he gets, taken out. And the helicopter chase scene, Tim's already mentioned it. I mean, what a great constructed scene. Music, setting, cameras, and everything, just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I like this. I also like the scene where you actually see, because at the start of the movie, you see what they're doing. And of course, later on, you actually see what's going on halfway through the movie, where they kill that guy and they get him in the car. They go off to Joe Pesci's mom's house and then they drive off and they kill him again, dig him away. And then about 6 months later, don't they? They find out it's being construction work and they think, oh shit. So they've got to go back and get this decomposed, stinking body out. And they're cracking jokes like, oh, there's a wing. There's a chicken wing. Up to the point where he just vomits it out and stuff. I mean, it's black humor. It's great black humor and stuff. And I love it when they deliver great black comedy like that. And again, I love Robert De Niro's evolution. Just, Connor's already pointed out, it's a turn of events and a game changer for the movie where, in a way, that is where everything really starts to kick off and you start to see who he really is. It's great. It's a great transformation, him getting so angry at everybody who's bought all this over the top stuff, that anyone could spot a mile off that they've got money somewhere. And he does. He kills them all off. And I always remember that scene vividly, that bit with the boys, all the kids playing, and the two of them see that dead couple in the car. I always remembered that bit because as soon as that came on, instantly I was like, I remember this. But it's again, just a really dark turn of events. Trying to think anything else. Because it is like a long movie, so I'm trying to think of like all the other bits and stuff. I suppose those pretty much are my favorite moments. The bits I'll always point out and stuff, and the bits that always stand out to me. I'll probably miss some out because it is a long film and stuff. But overall, it's a great film. But those are my favorite moments. So I'll let you guys pick yours.
All right, thanks.
He's also not making 5 movies anymore. I mean, he's getting to be around 80.
Yeah. The next one up is Lee. Please, your favorite moment.
Well, Tim mentioned it earlier, the scene where they use the Cream song, Sunshine of Your Love. It's so well used in them scenes. Scorsese knows how to pick music for his movies. But yeah, that's one of my favourite songs, Sunshine of Your Love. There's a scene. I don't know if it's filmed in one, It's where Ray Liotta and his girlfriend go to the cabaret, but he takes her through the kitchens, he takes her through this, he takes her through that. That to me, look, that is so well shot. It's like looks like it's one shot, and he's going for, you know, it goes on for quite a while, a good 4 minutes, but it's really well shot. And say we've said Joe Pesci, but the one, you know, where the guy going about the shoe shine boy in the bar, and then Pesci comes back with a knife and does him one. Well, it's just brilliantly done. But also as well, Pesci as well losing it with the young kid in the bag, bringing him drinks, and he eventually shoots him. I mean, De Niro's character's having a laugh and a joke with the kid, and he's winding him up, and he shoots him. And I suppose it mostly happened. It mostly did happen, and I do like the subtle characterization of De Niro's character, Jimmy. Not is it Jim? Yeah, it was Jimmy, wasn't it? Yeah, Jimmy. The way he sort of changes, it's subtle. He plays it subtly, character, and then, as you say, as soon as that boom, he's knocking everybody off. Brilliantly done. And also as well, I wish we had more. I know it's only a fleeting glimpse when, you know, with the narration, they're talking about all these mobsters what are in the bar, and they're naming all these mobsters. I wish we could see more of Jimmy Two Times. Because I think there's more to Jimmy Two Times. That could have been a little bit more comedy element there. So, you know, he says things twice. But yeah, it's brilliant. As you say, Joe Pesci. Yeah, I don't think he realizes how good an actor he really is. To be honest, he is a damn good actor. And as Connor says, to be paired up with De Niro, you know, it's just what I mean. You usually think of the Italian mobster gangster movies. You think De Niro, Pacino, Cartel, Pesci. They're, you know, 4 main ones, really. To me, okay, De Niro is a brilliant actor, but Pesci does steal this movie. And his character Tommy, in real life, he disappeared in 1979, never to be seen again. So they're putting this movie that he was hit as revenge from killing the guy in the bar. So is it true? Is it not? I don't know. But yeah, it's an enjoyable. And people said it's a long, but it's not long. It's not a long. It doesn't. If you're involved in the story, and you're watching the story and you get involved in what's going on, it's not that long. It just flies by, and it's really well directed, well written, well acted, and really I mean, you don't really hear Ray Liotta these days now. I mean, he does a damn fine performance in this as Henry Hill. You know, from the young kid all the way up to his drug-fueled capture, until and ratting him out in the end. So yeah, I enjoyed this. It was good to sit down. Like Tim, I haven't seen this for a good 20 years, I would say. So it's good. And I own the DVD, so good to see it again. Back to you, Susan.
All right. As soon as he was, as soon as he killed the main man, someone who is actually part of Cosa Nostra, he wasn't gonna live. You know, that's just the way that goes. Craig, over to you. What's your favorite moments?
For me, I mean, I agree with what Tim and Leah said about the movie. I mean, it's an amazing movie, but my favorite, I mean, I say favorite, but I think it's a scene that stayed in my mind so long, like quite graphically, when the boy gets shot in the bar. I don't know why, but I keep thinking that he was a stepson for someone, but I don't know why. I think I've just may have invented that in my
Fighter.
own. Yeah, I think that's why it stayed in my mind. but then Pesky's character was very complex, and I think another of my favorite scenes, I think by the end of the film, by the time Joe Pesci when he gets shot point blank range, I was kind of relieved, because I thought I don't have to listen to his voice anymore. But at the same time, like when you see the blood come out and you think there's so much blood, and then you think, shit, his doting mother's going to be like mortified. That's sort of stayed out for me. But I think, do you know what? This film has got such a good recipe, because it, even towards the finale, when people are getting bumped off left, right, and center in different ways, and it's almost like in a horror film in the 80s, where there's like a mass like reveal where you open up the cupboard and the skeletons come out of the closet, sort of thing. And that's why I think this has got like a perfect, it's just a perfect recipe for a good film. And that's why I've always rated Goodfellas as like one of the best gangster movies that from the 90s. Although I haven't given Godfather justice, because I haven't actually watched it yet. So I'm gonna have to tally them up and see what I think. But yeah, that's my favorite moments.
Talking, because Craig just mentioned recipe. There's also another scene where they're in prison.
Yeah.
Making the meal. I just think that's just so funny. You know, coming in with bread, Italian sausages, and they're like, "Have you got any wine? You got any red wine?" I just think that's brilliant.
It's like they just moved into a different house, really.
Yeah,
We have to do this now.
Because he uses the razor blade to shave the garlic so thin that it actually melts just as it hits the oil. And I've been trying to do that as a cook for, ever since I first saw this movie, maybe 15 years ago. And so that's a skill. That is such a skill. And they have that scene, and the scene of them cooking in their house during the chase scene around, that was mentioned earlier. I think Ethan mentioned it. No, Connor mentioned it. No. Anyway, I can't remember who mentioned it, but it was a good scene. When he's trying to get all that stuff done and they're cooking dinner. The recipes that they're using are so creative and so yummy. And I'm just trying to eventually get there in my cuisine. And I'm surrounded by amazing Italian restaurants here. And Henry Hill was also involved with Boston because he figured out a way of convincing Boston College students and some Boston Celtics to throw some games, and so there was some corruption. And that was another thing, is that there's still in the airports on the East Coast, on the Eastern Seaboard, they still talk about the Lufthansa heist to this day. I mean, it's still sort of like, the highest, the most amazing heist ever. Anyway, Ray Liotta and Henry Hill were interviewed a few years ago, and then they were doing some photo shoots for Entertainment Weekly, and though just after that, Ray Liotta convinced Henry Hill to go to treatment because he was such a drunk. He's still struggling. He's still like out there, or he was until he passed away. He struggled with drink and drugs, and he was just, those moments of intimate family stuff were great, and the truths of of being a gangster are real in this. Like you do not survive bumping off someone who's made. You'll never survive that. And that's I guess it may be true even to this day, even after RFK and then the FBI and everybody, even here, like in this city, they built the FBI building to bring down Whitey Bulger, who was a gangster here. Um, Another Irishman, so not able to be made, but you know, and so yeah, it's such a good story. And it is like high Italian cuisine. The meat falls off the bone and the gravy sticks to everything. That's the way you want to make it. Anyway, so there are lots of bones buried places. All right.
Well, I have a question about De Niro's
Yeah, just
characters.
open the floor now. And
I have
and
a question.
interrupt Lee, so go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about the De Niro character's motivation at that point in the film, because like it's been pointed out, that's when he turns into a bad villain. I mean, you didn't expect that from him. But was it his intention, or was it the group's intention to bump off lesser people in the scam? Because they kill the Samuel Jackson character for no reason other than they don't want to pay him, I guess. And then the same thing with the guy that's forever asking for his share or his money. They finally bump him off, and he's just been a thorn in Pesci's side the whole movie. The hairstylist guy, and then there's other people. Now, obviously, he gets very upset with those people spending too much money very publicly, like buying the pink car and the coat and all that stuff. But is not part of their plan that they were just bumping off people so they didn't have to share the money. Because like the guy in the freezer, he was Pesci's friend, right, or his cohort. Suddenly, he just ends up in the freezer.
Stacks
That's what I was
Stacks
thinking as
left
well.
fingerprints.
Stax was Samuel L. Jackson's character. He was the driver of the vehicle, and he never took the vehicle back. He parked it outside his house. So that's why he got it.
And there was prints on the steering wheel.
Yeah, because it could have been the plan all along. It was never sort of giving away what the real plan was. Get rid of the lesser people, I suppose. With people who would talk, would spend the money willy nilly. Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it? It makes you wonder.
Yeah, because he's a very ambiguous character at that point. And all of a sudden, he starts. I almost thought that he had Pesci bumped off at that point, because it happens when he's on the phone with him. I mean, it's like, but then he acts so shocked, and maybe that's what gives the Leota character a pause when he realizes he has no choice but to turn them in, or else they're going to kill him and his wife.
Well, so. Because he gave him a job, didn't he, in Florida, was it, with another guy, and that's when Henry Hill realized he would never come back from that.
Right.
So
because he had started something in Pennsylvania with a bunch of drug dealers and it wasn't the
because Paul Savito's character didn't like the drugs.
Yeah.
He only liked it when you had to do it in prison to make some money.
And the other thing is they weren't bumping people off lesser characters just to do that. They weren't able to swear them to secrecy like you could if you were in the crew.
Yeah, and he didn't want to pay.
I mean, to me, this movie just wants me to sit down and have a proper Italian meal with proper Italian monsters. Because the food looks delicious, and if it's cooked by Paulie, I felt sorry for Paulie, because he was a brilliant, nice gangster, if you know what I mean. He did everything by the book or his way, and he tried to get Henry off the drugs, but Henry Hill stabbed her in the back.
Yeah.
He went, yeah, Paulie was a great character, great role model for Henry Hill, but he didn't. He went to the others. He went to the dark side. Hey ho.
And in the book, they spelled out more things. They weren't as nice as they appear in the movie.
Yeah. So let's give these people what they really want, and they really want us to rate it. Pretty sure I know what you guys are gonna rate it. You probably couldn't hide that fact from me, and so let's do the same order. Connor, what's your rating and what's your final say?
When I was talking about the guy getting killed by Pesci, I meant Spider, not Samuel Jackson's character. Even though Samuel Jackson's character, his demise is equally as kind of brutal. This movie overall, it's not my favourite Scorsese. Last year, as Tim knows, I kind of went through his whole filmography stupidly, because it got very kind of tedious towards the end, because I was watching 4-hour films in a row.
Couldn't do it.
And, you know, in the context of his kind of filmography, it's really up there. Like I said, it's in his top 4. But, yeah, I still got to agree with Ethan that I've got to put Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, and... what's the other one? What am I thinking of? Shutter Island.
Oh yeah, great one.
Above Goodfellas for me. So on that basis, this movie gets a very solid 8.5 out of 10.
All right, let's go over to Tim then for your final say and your
Well,
score.
I'd say it's that's a fine way to do it once you've watched all the Scorsese's back to back. But I mean, it's a bit unfair. I mean, to compare movies about different things, because Scorsese is a very varied and diverse director who's had so many. I mean, like he decided he wants to tell a horror story. That's what you get with Shutter Island a bit, like a psychological horror. You wouldn't really compare that to a gangster film or a Edith Wharton novel like Age of Innocence. In other words, he brings his good direction to whatever he chooses to make. So I would say it's kind of hard to rate his movies in order of you know what I mean? Because Raging Bull is a great movie, but it's never gonna be one of my favorites. But it is what it is. It's the story of Jake LaMotta or whatever. So it's you know what I mean? I wouldn't compare that either favorably or unfavorably with Goodfellas, which is a different story. You know what I mean? It's a gangster film, but it's also a film about this family and their rise and their fall, and it's done very well. So I'm obviously going to rate this a 10 because it is. It's one of the best movies ever made. I hadn't realized that it had been so long since I'd seen it, and I was first thinking 2.5 hours. What a slog this is going to be, even though I've seen it before. But no, like we said, it just passes by so quickly because it's a great film. It really is. It's pretty much flawless. I can't think of anything wrong with it. So that's my rating.
Thank you. And Ethan.
I agree with both Connor and Tim. Like Connor, my two favorite Martin Scorsese films are Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver is number 1, and number 2 is King of Comedy. And I agree with Tim. That's what I love about Martin Scorsese. Each one is so different. He's so versatile, and he gives a great view and vision of each type of movie he does. So, like I said, this film is one of my favorite gangster films of all time. You know, it is a great film about the Italian mafia family, the rise and fall and relationships, and it depicts those eras. And it, like Lee said, it's based on a true story, and the book called Wise Guy. Is it Wise Guy? Yeah, Wise Guy. You know, it's a brilliant story. So for one of the best gangster movies I love so much, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
All right. And yeah, the book was Wise Guy. They couldn't name the movie Wise Guy because at the same time there was a TV show. So that would have been
God,
super.
I remember that. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Lee for final say and score.
Yeah, I agree with what Tim said about you can't really say this is better than that. You can't really judge a gangster movie against a boxing movie sort of thing, even if it is by the same director. Enjoyable, enthralling, gritty. Loved it. De Niro, love him. Pesci, he's adorable, isn't he? um, yeah, it's
adorable to you.
yeah. Hey, um,
What, like a bunny or something?
hey, want a coffee? It's 10 wise guys out of 10.
All right. And Craig, what's your final say and score?
I'm gonna give this film 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I will too. And Alex just let me know that they are planning Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Martin Scorsese are in production on a new film due out in 2022.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Correct.
I like the sound of that.
Which I believe is about the oil.
It's a true story, about
Yeah.
Indian.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
It's the formation of the FBI, which for a Scorsese movie is like, for me, Christopher Nolan doing a spy thriller. For him to do the formation of the FBI is just going to be insane. That's right in his wheelhouse.
Sounds like one of David's
sounds good.
artworks.
Yeah. So he did 6. This creator did 6 spy or gangster movies. He did The Departed. He did
Love that film.
Gangs of New York. He did Mean Streets, Casino, Irishman,
Yeah, Casino's brilliant.
Goodfellas, and I mean his he does have a quite the corner on the market, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Stray bullets. Yeah, this was a movie that I love, and I am glad to hear the story. I was able to do some research about Henry Hill when we said that we would do this. So Henry Hill is a really interesting character, and this isn't the only movie made about him. There's 3 other movies made about him by other directors. He's because the story is so, boy, it's bunkers. I think that we may have to watch some more Henry Hill movies at some point. Movies about Henry Hill, if that's all right with you guys. Just an idea as we do.
Well, you don't want to get to the point where you're glorifying gangsters.
Just this one.
That's the one thing this movie does as well. It walks a fine line because it is telling a true story, but he shows where he ends up. So.
Well, wait a minute. In the new, when they show it on TV now, Martin Scorsese sits in the movie theater and
We've done Goodfellas. We'll move on.
All right. So anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching Geeks Assembled. Thank you for watching Goodfellas. Thank you for keeping things cool. And thank you for not spilling the beans. I mean, definitely spill the beans about our podcast. Tell everyone. Share these widely. Enjoy the other stuff that we've done. Yeah. Come back next week. We're we're going to be doing some other stuff. Lee, tell the people what we're doing.
We are going back a few years to the 1950s with a Hitchcock classic, Vertigo,
Oh yeah?
and we're going to move forward a bit into the 1970s. There's going to be a running theme here because we're going to go to a Mel Brooks, High Anxiety.
That looks hilarious.
So there's a running theme.
I got it. I don't got it.
I ain't got it. No, I ain't got it. I got it, Diane.
Well,
My way or the highway, huh?
So don't be afraid. We're just going to be, don't be afraid of heights or whatever. Come watch our podcast about those. Thanks everybody. Thanks fellas for joining me. Please, when you're done watching this, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell to receive notifications. And then also, give us a like if you feel like it. If you don't, you know what I'll do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.